Welcome back, Queen, to another episode of According to Annie. And Annie, your host. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so good to be dropping on in with you again with another juicy episode. Today, we're going to talk about letting go of the staff member that you know needs to go, but you can't bring yourself to do it. So, it's actually really interesting because I feel like a lot of women come into my world as a paying client in order to get the tools, get the guidance on how to let go of their staff member, right? So this happens quite a fair bit. A lot of women come into my world ready for their next level, knowing that this next level requires that staff member to go, but they don't know how to go about it. And so the other part of this as well that I also teach on is feminine leadership. And so with that being said, I also invite my clients when they come into my world to make sure that they have done everything that they possibly need to do in order to give this staff member the best possible chance that they have, right? And so I walk you through a whole heap of like what feminine leadership looks like so that you can allow that staff member to show up, because 9 times out of 10 you're not happy with this staff member because they're not performing well, they're not listening, they're slackening off, they're crossing your boundaries, like all of those things. And so as a result, you want this staff member to go because you're like, they're just costing me money and I don't have the time, I don't have the confidence or the energy to waste any more time with this person, right? They're costing me money now. But the truth is that it's actually less about the staff and it's more about you and your leadership, right? And it's more about you as a feminine leader and leaning into that and knowing that maybe your staff is not performing because they don't have a very good leader. And that takes courage to admit that and to take ownership and responsibility of maybe I am not doing things the best that I could. And let's face it, it's a part of you that was never taught this part either. Yeah, you weren't taught, you didn't even learn how to run a business, let alone learn how to run a team. And that requires a whole different skill set. So I think it's important that you, first of all, make sure that you get the right guidance and the right help and support to really lean in and lead this person properly before you decide whether they're no longer the right fit. And then once you've done performance management and performance review on them, and you've actually supported them and led them and given them all the training that they need, then you can have a conversation about what that might look like, whether they are to stay on or stay off. But the particular topic that I want to talk today about is the particular topic around letting go of the staff member that you have led through feminine leadership. You've done all of the training, you've done all the skills, they know what the expectations are and they're still not meeting it. So that's really what I want to talk about today, about letting go of that staff member that you have, put a lot of time and energy and effort into the right way in order for them to show up bright. And so I want you to think about this for a second. Like, you're about to let go of this staff member, this staff member needs to go. You got this lump in your throat. You've got this fear of like, oh, how are they going to react? Are they going to get angry? Are they going to get upset? Like, the anxiety riddles your entire being. You lose sleep over it. You are not your best game. You feel like it's literally every conversation you're having with your friends and your partner is about this staff member. It's consuming your entire life. Remember, I only talk or teach on something that I have been through myself. And so I'm with you. I am with you on this, right? And so I know that letting go of someone in your business is so fucking hard. I know that. And I know that because I did it. I was in mentorship and I had this staff member that, number one, I was not a very good leader. So I was the first to admit that. And this mentor was helping me lead this particular staff member. And so I was implementing everything that I needed to implement. And I kept performance reviewing her every single month on the same thing. And I would say to her at the end of the meeting, okay, so you sure you understand, like, this is our goals, this is the action, this is what you're going to need to do in order to keep your job. And she's like, yep, I've got it. Amazing. And then literally the next month would roll by and we'd be talking about the same shit over and over. And I'd be like, okay, so last month we didn't quite make it. So are we going to make it this month? And really, I just needed to let her go, right? But I didn't have the courage to let her go. Like, I didn't want to have those hard conversations. So I know how hard it is to have these conversations. I know that you keep putting it off, and I know that you keep praying and hoping that next month it's going to be better, and you're going to be your staff member is going to be everything that you need them to be, only to find out that they're just never going to be what you need them to be. And like I said, I know this because not only do I coach women through this, but I have also been through this in my own salon. And so this particular staff member that I had, I literally performance reviewed her for the same thing for about 6 months. And every month I would have a conversation with my mentor, and she'd be like, okay, Annie, where are you at? Have you let her go yet? And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to give her one more month. And she's like, Annie, like, you, you can't, like, she's already showing you that she can't be what you need her to be. Like, you need to let her go. And I'm like, no, but I see the potential. I think she's going to be okay. And I think too, another element of this as well was at this time when I had this staff member on, she also, I also was not working full time on the floor anymore because I had built the team up to no longer work full time. And so there was a part of me that felt like if I let her go, then I would have to put myself back on the floor. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But I also was like, I don't want to train anybody else up either, because it takes time to train someone up and advertise and go through all that process. And I was like, oh, I can't be bothered going down that path, right? And it wasn't until the very last conversation that we had where I was like, okay, it's time. It's time. This person has to go. She can't stay on any longer. She needs to go. And so I remember saying to her, like, we've got our team meeting, like, bring your performance review sheet. So part of my coaching mentor, when you come into my world, I have a whole heap of templates that you can get access to. So if you need help with any of that stuff, you can come into my world and have a chat to me about policies and procedures and templates and all of that kind of stuff. And I can definitely guide you in the right direction. So had given her that to complete and fill out. And I said to her, if you want to come on in, and if you want to bring a support person, you can bring a support person. So usually if you're going to let somebody go, you need to give them the opportunity to have a support person. If they don't want to bring someone, then that's up to them. But usually when you say that to them, they know that it's serious. They know that this one is different to any other one, and that it's probably going to result in being fired. Anyway, so this staff member comes in, she brings her mum in with her, and we sit down and we have a conversation. And I said to her, so I just want to know, like, how do you think the last 30 days have gone? And she's like, yeah, they've gone okay. And I'm like, okay. And I said, so we've been going over the same thing over and over. And so I just want to clear up, like, do you know what the expectations are of your job role? And she was like, yes, I do. And I was like, okay, great. Do you feel like you are meeting those expectations? And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, okay. Do you feel like there's anything that I could do to help you get better or to meet these expectations? And she was like, no, I think you've done everything. You've done all the training. You've like done everything. There's really no reason why I can't be meeting them. And I was like, oh, so baffled. And I was like, okay, so I don't really know where we go from here then, because if you're telling me that you know everything that this job role entails, you feel like you have had sufficient training and everything on my behalf, but it's just you not stepping up and doing the job role, then I'm not sure where this leaves us, because essentially I'm running a business here and you're not meeting KPIs. And so the business is at a loss by having you here. And so I think that from this perspective, I'm going to have to say that this is your last shift, and I'll give you 2 weeks, your 2 weeks annual leave. And, there's no hard feelings, but like, this has purely come from a business decision. And so with that being said, like, there is no longer a position here for you. And she said to me, That's okay. Because I've actually been studying aged care. And so as soon as my course was up, I was going to leave anyway. I was gobsmacked. I was like, oh, you're going to have a career change. And she's like, yeah, I just don't think hairdressing's for me anymore. And I was like, that makes so much sense because her heart wasn't in it anymore. She didn't even really want to do it. It was just a job. It was just something to tie her over until she stepped into her next career. And I was like, I've been wasting so much time and effort and energy and money on this person who was not invested in my business at all. But yet I was fully invested in this person. And so, one of the most valuable lessons that I have learned along the journey is when someone is not performing as good as I know that they can, or if I see their potential and they're not stepping into their potential, something I now do with staff is I now give them permission. Because the thing is that when you put so much time and energy and effort and money into your staff, what happens as a result is they feel obligated that they have to stay. They feel like the loyalty, they owe you something. And so they don't want to dishearten you or they don't want to let you down. And so they stay and they just keep going. And they don't want to have that hard conversation with you. And so moving forward, I would now always say early on in the piece, and not 6 months after I've been fucking performance reviewing the person, I would say, if you don't want to work here anymore, that's okay. Like, there's no hard feelings. Like, I would rather you be honest and upfront with me. Sometimes we have to give them permission to leave because otherwise they'll keep staying. And that energy, that toxic energy that is happening, like it was impacting all of the other staff that I had on as well. Like their morale was dropping because this person was dragging their feet, not really wanting to be there, not really giving a shit, like just there because they have to be there and it's a wage at the end of the day. And so the energy that that was creating within the team environment, oh my gosh, like, and it wasn't until she left that everything really started to change. And I had clients even say to me, like, wow, like the dynamics have changed in this space. And I'm like, yeah, they have, haven't they? And so energy is so contagious, right? And if you've got one staff member that is not really performing the way that that they could, or the potential that they have, then I would be pulling that staff member aside and I would be saying to them, like, what's happening? Talk to me, like, on a deeper level here. Like, do you still want to do this? Like, if you want to leave, like, I will be more than happy to let you move into your next journey. And so, from this perspective, this was something that I just recently coached one of the girls through in Evolve. And so she had a staff member that was just not really in alignment with the way that she wanted the business to go. And this staff member had also told her that she wanted to go out on her own, right? So this staff member had been really honest with her and said, I want to start my own salon up at home and, blah, blah, blah. And so there was a lot of boundaries that were being crossed from both parties, right? And when I spoke to this particular client who brought it up in Evolve, and we were having this conversation, and she wanted to let this staff member go, after we definitely went through like the process of making sure that this staff member was 100% being led in feminine leadership, then still nothing was changing. And so I said to her, by you keeping her on, you're actually enabling her and you're not showing her that she has the capability to go and fulfill her next dream. Like, you're enabling her, you're telling her, look, you know what? By me keeping you on, you're not ready to go out there. And I said, and who are you to make that choice? And she's like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't see it from that perspective. And I was like, yeah, exactly. Like, this is something I'm like super, super proud of with myself, and something that I really believe is a phenomenal skill set. Is I will definitely show you from a very different perspective that you've never seen from before. And so she was like, wow, yeah, okay. So she was like, yeah, I think it's time that she goes. Like, it's not really in alignment with the way that I want the business to go. She didn't want to have any staff anymore. She wanted to just get back to just her and her clients, and she wanted to bring more of a holistic approach in, and she wanted to make it one-on-one appointments so that the client got the entire salon environment to themselves, so that it was a really safe, sacred space. And having a staff member on just wasn't going to fulfill that new vision that she had for the business. And so we walked through the entire process of like what that looks like. And she sat her down and she said, um, I know that you want to go out and you want to start your own dream business and from home and all of that. And I'm so supportive of that. And, the way that the business is shifting directions, I've made the decision to like terminate your employment now so that you can actually start fulfilling your big dreams, but also so that I can fulfill the dreams of the business mission that I've got right now. Anyway, the staff member was like a little bit taken back by it to start with, was a little bit upset, which understandably, she's now being pushed into her next big dream, and that's scary and fearful, and it's all of the unknown. So like totally understandable that her safety net has now been pulled out from under her and it feels a little scary. But over time, like my client that I was working with, she said to her, like, I'm more than happy to pass your clients off to you to get you started. I'm not going to gatekeep your clients. She said, I actually want to get rid of a couple of mirrors to create some more space. So if you would like the mirrors as well, like I'm more than happy to help set you up at home. And this beautiful dynamics completely shifted. And so this staff member left feeling so supported, so loved. And guess what? She's now taking on her big dream and her vision because my client had the courage to say, you can do this. You can do this. Trust yourself. You've got this. And I also trust myself that I know what I'm doing as well in my business. And so there doesn't need to be nasty conversations. There doesn't need to be this bitterness like there is when people are being let go of. I think the hair and beauty industry, or even just any industry, when someone gets let go of, there's this whole nastiness that happens around it, and we don't subscribe to that in my world. We subscribe to, how do we have these tough conversations, and knowing that they're tough, how do we stay in love? How do we stay in love and understand that from our perspective, yes, it's hard, but it's also really hard for the other person. And when we allow ourselves to stay both in love, and you show up as a feminine leader in true love form, nothing bad can happen from that space. Yeah. And so as a result, if we look at my situation with my staff member, letting her go meant that she could fulfill her next career that she actually wanted to step into. And the same with my client. That meant that she also was letting her staff member go into her next lesson or life as well. So if you are someone that's avoiding having these hard conversations, please stop doing that, because it's impacting your entire business. Yeah, your team is being impacted. You're losing sleep over it. Your clients feel that the energy is off. It's consuming your energy every day. It's blocking you from receiving even more abundance than what you're already getting. And, I want to remind you that being a feminine leader is not always easy. But oh my gosh, it's such a disservice to the rest of your business if you choose to not step into that role. And so I really, really invite you to step into that. If you need to have a hard conversation, lean into it. If you need some support around how to have that, come and join us in Evolve. Yeah, like this is the type of work that we do. I get to support you through that so that you can make sure that you always come from this beautiful place of love, and everyone thrives and steps into their next level and evolves, right? Evolves, pardon the pun, but evolves. I promise you that it will be the best decision that you ever make when you stop letting go of the things that are actually holding you back from you stepping into your big dream life. I know that they're hard conversations to have, but trust me, you are meant for more. You're meant to follow through on these. You're meant to set the example. You're supposed to lead. So lean into it. You've got this. I believe in you. And if you need support, send me a DM and let me help you. Otherwise, I know you can do this. I'll talk to you soon.